explosion in northwestern China kills 31, injures many. Uganda's opposition calls for repatriation of their soldiers after school massacre. Noises detected inconclusive in the vicinity of missing submersible. Welcome to the World News on VOP TV. I am Kayla Abraham. Banging sounds have been heard in the vicinity of a submersible that went missing while visiting the wreck of the Titanic are inconclusive, and further attempts to detect additional noises have been unsuccessful on Wednesday. The U.S. Coast Guard Captain Jamie Frederick stated at the press conference in Boston that noises were heard by Canadian P-3 Orion surveillance aircraft on Tuesday and again on Wednesday morning. He added that additional scans by 2 remotely operated underwater vehicles listening for sounds in the area had yielded negative results. Captain Frederick disclosed that the surface search is now approximately 2 times the size of the U.S. state of Connecticut, which measures about 13,000 square kilometers. The operation to find Titan, the deep-sea vessel that had 4 wealthy tourists and a pilot aboard, was still being treated as a search and rescue rather than recovery. When asked if he is hopeful of finding the submersible inside the time frame, Rear Admiral John Moger told reporters that there is a possibility as the search and rescue operation continues to take priority. Meanwhile, Stockton Rush, one of those aboard the missing submersible in the North Atlantic, is married to a descendant of 2 first-class passengers who died when the Titanic sank in 1912 after hitting an iceberg. Rush, who is married to Wendy Rush, is chief executive of U.S.-based Ocean Gate Expeditions, which operates the Titan submersible that went missing on Sunday, as it descended with him and 4 others to visit the Titanic wreck off Canada's coast. Wendy Rush is a great-great-granddaughter of the Jewish retailing magnate Isidor Strauss and his wife, Ida, 2 of the wealthiest people who were on the Titanic's maiden voyage when it sank after hitting an iceberg. At least 31 people have died and 7 injured after a gas explosion at a barbecue restaurant in the city of Yinchuan in China's northwestern region of Ningxia on Wednesday night. Reporters disclosed on Thursday that the blast took place at 8:40 p.m. and was caused by the leak of a liquefied gas tank inside the restaurant. 7 others were injured with glass cuts and burns, 1 critically. According to a state news agency, 9 people have been taken into custody, including the restaurant's owner, shareholders, and staff members. Chinese President Xi Jinping called on authorities to make every effort to respond to the crisis and enhance safety measures. He also called for a review and strengthening of public safety measures in the aftermath of the disaster. The explosion occurred on the eve of the Dragon Boat Festival, a 3-day holiday in China marked with celebratory group meals and paddled boat races. Still in China, swathes of northern China sweltered in 40-degree heat on Thursday as parts of Beijing and the nearby megacity of Tianjin recorded their highest temperatures for years. Scientists say rising global temperatures caused largely by burning fossil fuels are aggravating extreme weather worldwide, and many countries in Asia have experienced deadly heat waves and record temperatures in recent weeks. A weather station in Tangeko in northern Beijing logged 41.8 degrees Celsius early on Thursday afternoon, making it the hottest place in the country. Another station in the south of the city chalked up its first 40-degree day in nearly a decade, while highs of 40.6 Celsius represented the hottest June day ever recorded in Tianjin's Xiqing district. A line of severe storms produced multiple tornadoes on the rolling plains in Texas, killing at least 3 people and causing significant damage around the northern town of Matador on Wednesday evening. It was reported that the storms also produced softball-sized hail and wind gusts topping 100 miles per hour in other communities, including Jayton, which also was under a tornado warning as the line moved southeast on Wednesday night. Matador Mayor Pat Smith stated that at least 3 people had been killed and that there was a whole lot of damage. According to South Plains Electric Cooperative, there were widespread power outages across the rolling plains, including more than 700 customers without power in the Jayton area. The worst damage appears to be in Matador, a town of about 570 people, 17 miles northeast of Lubbock in Motley County. Wednesday's tornado outbreak came 6 days after a tornado left 3 people dead and more than 100 injured in Perryton in the northern Texas Panhandle. 3 civilians identified as Musa Barakat, his son Muhammad Musa Barakat, and Salim Darwish from Kafar Noran town in the western suburbs of Aleppo Governorate have been killed in an artillery attack by Syrian regime forces on Wednesday, who fired multiple shells at Kafar Noran town in the western suburbs of Aleppo Governorate. One of the shells hit a main street in the center of the town near the municipality building, while a second one landed near a street vendor on the main road between the 2 towns of Kafar Noran and Ma'aret al-Nassan. In addition to the fatalities, 11 other civilians were injured in the attack, including a woman and multiple children. The area is under the joint control of armed opposition factions and Hayat Tahrir al-Sham. The Syrian Network for Human Rights condemns the bombardment of populated areas by Syrian regime forces. It should be noted that through these and similar attacks, Syrian regime forces have unequivocally violated Security Council resolutions 2139 and 2254, both of which categorically prohibit indiscriminate attacks, as well as violating the rules of international humanitarian law on distinguishing between civilians and fighters. Such attack aims solely to spread fear and panic among civilians, driving them from their lands and homes and forcibly displace them. It is estimated that 6.5 million people are currently internally displaced in Syria. A Palestinian man has been killed on Wednesday in a village that came under attack by Israeli settlers in the occupied West Bank. Omar Khating, who was shot dead as hundreds of Israeli settlers rampaged through the village of Termasaya, just north of Ramallah. 13 other Palestinians were injured by live fire. The large-scale settler attacks in Palestinian villages across the West Bank began on Tuesday afternoon after the killing of 4 settlers in the illegal settlement of Eli in the occupied Palestinian territory. On Tuesday night, settlers rampaged through Termasaya, burning vehicles, throwing stones at houses, destroying olive trees and crops, and damaging local businesses. On Wednesday afternoon, settler mobs returned to the village. Around 400 settlers, many of them armed, marched through the Palestinian town center, setting homes, vehicles, and trees ablaze, leaving over 60 cars torched and 30 houses burned. It was during this assault that Omar Khating, an electrician and father of 2, was killed. It is yet to be confirmed if he was shot by a settler. The Palestinian Minister of Health confirmed that Khating was dead on arrival with a gunshot wound to the chest at the Palestinian Medical Complex in Ramallah. Uganda's opposition has called for the repatriation of Ugandan troops deployed abroad to reinforce security after a massacre last week at a high school blamed on jihadists, which left at least 42 people dead. Among the victims, mostly students, the youngest, who was 12-year-old, and the oldest, 95-year-old, were killed on Friday night in Mpondwe, a few kilometers from the border with the Democratic Republic of Congo, with matches shot or burned alive. Immediately after the massacre, Ugandan army and police officials incriminated members of the Allied Democratic Forces, an Islamist militia that has pledged allegiance to the Islamic State group. On Wednesday, Abdallah Kiwanuka, an opposition official and minister in a shadow cabinet in charge of internal affairs, disclosed that Uganda's decision to deploy troops abroad, notably in Somalia, as part of an African Union force to combat the radical Islamist Shabab, had exceeded the country's security capabilities and given the ADF the opportunity to carry out attacks. A total of 21 people have been arrested, some suspected by the authorities of being ADF collaborators. While the families are still awaiting results of DNA tests to identify several of the victims, questions remain as to how the assailants managed to carry out massacre and escape in a region under heavy military presence. According to the latest police data released on Thursday, an unprecedented number of 18,709 individuals with dementia of suspected dementia was reported missing in Japan during the year 2022. This figure represents a notable increase of 6.1% compared to the previous year and nearly doubles the count of 9,607 cases reported in 2021 when comprehensive data collection commenced. When categorized by prefecture, Hyogo in western Japan recorded the highest number of cases at 2,115, followed closely by Osaka with 1,996 cases, and Saitama, located near Tokyo, with 1,902 cases. Out of the total reported cases, 17,923 individuals were found alive, with an impressive 77.5% of them being located on the very same day the reports were filed. Moreover, an overwhelming 99.6% was successfully traced within a week. A total of 491 individuals were discovered to have passed away, including cases resulting from accidents. Also, the overall count of missing persons in Japan reached 84,910 in 2022, representing an increase of 5,692 cases compared to the previous year, marking the second consecutive annual rise. Among the age demographics, individuals in their 20s constituted the largest group with 16,848 reported cases, closely followed by those aged between 10 and 19, totaling 14,959 cases. Of significant concern, the data revealed that the number of missing individuals aged 80 years and older stood at 13,749, with an additional 10,779 cases reported for individuals in their 70s. Combined, these four age groups accounted for over 60% of the overall total. As Japan grapples with the challenges posed by its aging society, the concerted efforts of law enforcement agencies, communities, and organizations are crucial in ensuring the safety and well-being of vulnerable individuals affected by dementia-related cases. Finally, President Biden is setting the stage to unveil an unprecedented list of defense, technology, and business deals alongside Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi during his state visit on Thursday, with a clear subtext of countering China's global ambitions and pulling New Delhi away from Russia. Biden and Modi will speak during a press conference on Thursday, and the two leaders are expected to announce big-ticket deals to include India's purchase of advanced armed drones called MQ-9BC Guardians and the inking of a deal for US and Indian companies to jointly produce next-generation fighter jet engines. US officials are stopping short of specifying that deepening ties between Washington and New Delhi are centered on pushing back against military, economic, and political threats from Beijing, even as American lawmakers celebrate India as a key partner in pushing back against China. In a briefing on Wednesday night, senior administration officials previewed more than a dozen deals that span sectors including military assistance, critical technologies, space exploration, health and the environment, among others. But Modi's celebratory welcome in Washington, which makes him only the third leader to receive the honor of a state visit during the Biden administration, and a coveted invite to address a joint session of Congress, is facing pushback from some lawmakers and humanitarian rights groups. And that is a wrap on the world news on VOP TV. I am Kayla Abraham. Thanks for watching.